It's Sunday morning, and I survived. After a pool party at somebody else's house, the night morphed into a slumber party at my house with 5 11-year-old girls. I had to go to Chick-fil-A. I had to get cronuts this morning, but we're fine. During the sleepless night, I came up with some ideas that's going to make your system better. It has nothing to do with the actual equipment. So sit down and grab a cup of coffee. Let's talk about 5 ways you can make your system better. Numero uno. This is really only if you can use this with a 5 volt or 12 volt products, but a linear power supply. I know people are going to say that doesn't make a difference. However, I have a bunch of Gishelli Labs DACs that are 12 volt, and I have a bunch of streamers that are 5 volt, and I have some, not streamers, DACs that are 5 volt DACs. Take it easy, Gracie. Hold on. Dog wants to go inside now. Yeah. Shame, Gracie. Shame. Anyway, she thinks the camera is something strange. Anyway, in every case that I've used a linear power supply on a 5 volt or a 12 volt product, I've heard an improvement in space, really. Maybe instrument separation, but generally in space, largeness. Now the problem is there isn't really a what I would call a reputable supplier of linear power supplies for 12 volt and 5 volt products. However, I've had some sent to me by patrons, and there's some available on AliExpress or something like that. I'm not like super confident in putting my name on any of those, but if you're watching this, you have a linear power supply, put it in the comments where you got it, because it does make a difference. It does. I mean, it makes a difference over like a wall wart, like a 5 volt cell phone charger type of a wall wart. Even some of these Chinese plug in the wall 12 volt power supplies. And on paper, even measurements, it doesn't matter. But listen, I've listened to a lot of stuff, and in my experience, it has made a difference to the point where I would spend the $200 on getting a linear power supply, or the $150 to get a linear power supply for my streamer, like a Weem Pro or a Topping D50 Mark III for a DAC, or for a Gishelli Labs J2, or something like that. Linear power supply. I know, it makes a difference. The 12-year-olds are singing upstairs. Another thing that makes a difference. I know, people are going to hate me for this one. Power cords. That's right. Power cords. Now, you don't have to spend a ton of money on power cords. I have had power cables from Audio Quest. I've also had a power cable in from a place called Peachtree, which is a US company, and I think they make their own power cables. Now, the funny thing is I heard a difference. I did what I would consider a very poorly designed blind test between a generic power cable and an Audio Quest power cable. And I actually picked the generic one as the one that I thought was the more expensive one. But in thinking about it, in a vacuum, I have heard that cheaper cables that allow more interference actually sound like there's more top-end detail, where it's actually just noise. Anyway, your mileage may vary, but I think for 40 or 50 bucks to get a decent power cable, and even Audio Quest has some really affordable options, I think is worth looking into. And before you get upset about power cables, don't take my word for it. Get something off of Amazon and give it a try. And if it doesn't work, if it's not better for you, and listen to it for about a week. If it's not better and you don't think it's better, send it back. For 40 or 50 bucks, you have nothing to lose except a little bit of time. But instead of just pointing fingers and saying there's no way that it can work, just buy one. Return it if it doesn't sound better. RCA cables. Now, this one makes a big difference, and not necessarily because one is better sonically over the other, but because a good RCA cable can keep interference out. And I have had this problem firsthand. I had like a 60 hertz ground kind of noise, like a hum in the background. I tore the entire system apart. I used different wall outlets. I did everything. I couldn't figure anything out until it dawned on me. Maybe I should try switching the RCAs out. And I tried switching the RCAs out. I had a fairly cheap RCA cable that I got on sale on some Black Friday deal. Anyway, it was the RCA cable. So I would recommend getting just the Amazon Basics cables, which are like $8. I've never had a problem with those. The cables I really like are the world's best cables. It's I think they're made in China, but they use good connectors. They also use good wire, or so they say. Never had a problem with those. You can also look at the Audio Quest, the lowest tier. They're more expensive, but they're built well. The only problem with those is sometimes the actual connection is so tight. I have a hard time getting them in and out. That's what she said. So I don't exactly love the way they connect, but having close tolerances is probably good. So I've never had a problem with the Audio Quest entry level cables either. Love the world's best cables though. They're very good. Very, very good. Speaker isolation, and it could be anything from good speaker stands and actually having them be weighted down or inert, or it could be some of those things like isoacoustics or some type of pad in between the speaker and whatever surface it's sitting on. I never thought this would make a difference, and it actually does. I used to make fun of people that would spend a ton of money on speaker stands, and I don't think you need to spend a ton of money on speaker stands to get a good one, to get an inert one. I like some monoprice ones, and you can fill them up with kitty litter or sand. I don't even have mine filled, but I do have a little bit of cushion between the actual stand and the speaker itself. When I tried out isoacoustic stuff though, on my desk, I did hear a big difference. And I used to have a console that I would put bookshelf speakers on. And when I used the isoacoustics there, it also made a pretty big difference. If you have bookshelf speakers and you have them on something other than a decent stand, I would look into something else, something that doesn't resonate. Even just a wooden stool probably is not a bad idea. If you have a metal speaker stand though, make sure you weight it down a little bit, because all of those little connections, like the little spikes on the bottom, Spike in My Veins, that's a good song by Korn, Spike in My Veins. Isolate your speakers though, and it doesn't have to be super expensive. A power conditioner. That's right, power conditioner. You don't have to spend a lot of money. I bought a Furman power conditioner, which is the one I bought when I bought it, I think was $30 or $40. But it does make a difference. I bought this little device, and you plug it into outlets, and it tells you how much electrical noise is going on. And this is not just an audio. This is not an audio device that is sold and marketed to audiophiles, because that could be a little bit of snake oil. No, this is used for actual electric work. Anyway, I tried it all over my house. And in the kitchen, there is a ton of noise, which I guess makes sense because the refrigerator puts back a ton of noise back into your electrical. So if your electrical grid is older or you don't have great power, and I have a bunch of patrons out on the East Coast, and maybe the power grid over there is a little bit older, but they've had a lot of issues with electrical power. Going back to the power conditioner though, so I took this device, I plugged it into the wall, and then I took it out and I plugged it into a power conditioner that was plugged into the same outlet. And sure enough, I don't even know what the device is measuring, but it went down. I also tried an Audio Quest power conditioner that was about $400 versus the $40 Furman. There was no difference. So both of them were making an impact on the noise. The takeaway there is you don't have to spend a ton of money on a power conditioner to get the benefits. And in my opinion, like the Furman is just a really solidly built power strip. And that's kind of what I thought. I was like, I'm just going to buy a really good power strip that I can use forever, that's not going to break like all the power strips I get from Walmart or Home Depot. And for 40 bucks, even 50 bucks, I think it's a decent investment to look into. And again, you can buy it, plug it in. If you don't hear a difference, send it back to Amazon. But even if you just think about it as a decent power strip, I think it's worth it. But it does make a difference, and it did improve my system. So thank you so much for watching, and I really think you should try out these products that I talked about, because again, at the end of the day, contempt prior to investigation is no way to approach your life or this hobby. Buy it, try it. If it doesn't work, send it back. But if you think about these just as solid RCA cables, well-built RCA cables, well-built power strips, then you don't really have much to lose. But the linear power supply, that's probably going to be the thing that either it works or it doesn't work, right? Either it sounds better or it doesn't sound better. And that's the most expensive, therefore the riskiest investment you can get. But buying a power cable, buying RCA cables, buying a power conditioner, I think those are an easy way to kind of get into and see if any of this is a reality. And I think what's happened is this stuff actually does work, but some companies have misrepresented how much it actually works, and therefore everything gets lumped into snake oil. And not all of it is snake oil. Some of it really is, but the best way to figure it out is by not spending a ton of money on it and testing it out yourself. You be the reviewer. You be the YouTuber. You make the decision. But don't make a decision just because you saw something or read something on a forum that says all of this doesn't make a difference. Try it out yourself. If it doesn't make a difference, send it back. Thank you so much for watching. Like and subscribe.